Welcome to a chilling journey into the minds of the infamous. Today, we delve into the psychology of 10 notorious serial killers. This exploration will take us into the darkest corners of the human psyche, where we will unravel the threads of their motivations, their crimes, and their twisted mental landscapes. Welcome to another intriguing episode on TopThangs. Today, we delve into the dark corners of the human psyche with a psychological analysis of serial killers. We will explore the minds of some of the most infamous individuals in criminal history, seeking to understand the complex factors driving their heinous acts. This video is not just a recount of their crimes, but an analytical journey into psychology, environment, and behavior. Viewer discretion is advised as we attempt to unravel the enigma of these notorious figures. Our first case delves into the life of Ted Bundy, a name irrevocably linked with terror and dread. Born Theodore Robert Bundy in Burlington, Vermont, in 1946, he began life under challenging circumstances. Raised believing his mother was his sister and his were his parents, Bundy's early life was shrouded in a web of lies. Moving on to his education, Bundy was an intelligent man, standing out academically. He graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in psychology, a field he seemed to use for chilling purposes later in his life. He also attended law school, but never completed his degree. As for his relationships, Bundy had a long-term relationship with Elizabeth Klopfer, who ironically worked for the Seattle Crisis Clinic. In a twisted irony, Klopfer even reported Bundy to the police multiple times, suspecting his involvement in the series of murders ravaging the Pacific Northwest. Bundy's reign of terror spanned the 1970s, during which he confessed to the brutal murders of 30 young women. His magnetic charm and manipulative tactics were intricately woven into his modus operandi, allowing him to lure innocent victims into his trap, a chilling example of how appearances can be deceitfully dangerous. Delving deeper into his psychological profile, Bundy exhibited pronounced traits of narcissism. This was evident in his constant need for admiration, his lack of empathy towards his victims, and his grandiose sense of self-importance. His antisocial behavior manifested in his law-breaking activities, disregard for the rights of others, and refusal to conform to societal norms. Furthermore, Bundy demonstrated characteristics of sadism, deriving pleasure from inflicting pain, suffering, or humiliation on others. This lethal combination of traits fueled his violent tendencies, offering a horrifying glimpse into the mind of a serial killer. Our second subject is Jeffrey Dahmer, infamously known as the Milwaukee Cannibal. Born as Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on May 21, 1960, he was the eldest of two boys. Dahmer's family life was filled with tension and instability. His parents' troubled marriage and eventual bitter divorce had a profound impact on his formative years. From an early age, Dahmer displayed signs of violence. He developed a fascination with animal carcasses, often collecting and dissecting them, which many believe was an early indication of his gruesome future. Dahmer's terrifying criminal history involves the heinous murder and dismemberment of 17 men and boys. His crimes were not simply acts of violence, they were dark rituals played out with a chilling precision. His victims were not just murdered, they were subjected to acts that are hard to fathom. Digging deeper into Dahmer's psyche, we encounter disturbing elements that further define his monstrosity. Firstly, Dahmer exhibited significant signs of necrophilia, a sexual attraction to corpses. This macabre fetish was not just a side effect of his murders, but a driving force behind them, making his crimes even more sinister. Secondly, Dahmer was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. This disorder, characterized by a long-term pattern of disregard for or violation of the rights of others, was a significant contributor to Dahmer's lack of empathy towards his victims. His inability to understand or care about the harm he was causing was a key element of his crimes. Lastly, Dahmer struggled with severe alcoholism. He began drinking in his early teens, and his dependency alcohol escalated over the years. It was more than merely a coping mechanism for Dahmer. It was an enabler for his darkest impulses. This complex web of psychological disorders and a disturbed upbringing paints a chilling picture of the man behind the monster. It provides us with a deeper understanding of the factors that led to the monstrous crimes committed by Jeffrey Dahmer. Let's delve into the perplexing contradiction of John Wayne Gacy, who was notoriously titled as the Killer Clown. Gacy, in his disturbing journey of crime, abused and subsequently killed 33 young males, their bodies callously concealed within the confines of his own house. But there's a stark duality to Gacy's life that is as intriguing as it is terrifying. On one hand, Gacy was a respected figure within his community, often participating in local events, fundraising activities, and was even a member of the JCs, a leadership training and civic organization. Gacy's killer clown persona was not just a cruel moniker, but drew from his active as a clown at children's parties and charity events. In contrast, behind the facade of a respectable citizen, Gacy hid a grisly secret. His home, often seen bustling with life, was actually a sinister burial ground. The dual life Gacy led highlights a psychological phenomenon known as compartmentalization. This is a defense mechanism where a person segregates aspects of their life to cope with conflicting values or emotions, often seen in individuals with severe psychological disorders. In the case of Gacy, his compartmentalization had serious implications. It allowed him to lead an inconspicuous life, making it difficult for anyone to suspect his heinous actions. His ability to disconnect from his grotesque actions while leading a seemingly normal life made him one of the most chilling serial killers of all time. Our fourth case study explores the dark psyche of Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK killer. Rader's bone-chilling crimes were characterized by his chilling signature style of bind, torture, kill, which inspired his moniker. A more profound examination of Rader's mind unveils an alarming obsession with control. This trait was not only apparent in the meticulous manner he planned his crimes, but also in the brutal domination he exerted over his victims, leaving a trail of dread and despair. Rader's sexual sadism further intensified his heinous acts. This perverse pleasure he derived from inflicting pain upon his victims not only fueled his violent tendencies, but also prolonged their torment, revealing an unsettling facet of his. But what possibly stands out most in Rader's disturbed psychology is his narcissism. The insatiable need for power and dominance, coupled with a grandiose sense of self, did not only make him a terrifying predator, but it also played a crucial role in his ceaseless pursuit of committing these crimes. This deep-rooted narcissism, rooted in an inflated sense of superiority and entitlement, became the driving force behind his reign of terror. The fifth case uncovers the chilling story of Aileen Wuornos, who holds the rare distinction of being one of the few known female serial killers. Wuornos's life was far from ordinary, riddled with hardship, abuse, and neglect from her early childhood. Her tumultuous years of growing up witnessed her engaging in crime and engaging in unstable relationships, which often became the canvas for her criminal activities later in life. Wuornos was accused and convicted of murdering 7 men, and the intriguing part of her narrative is that she claimed self-defense each time. These claims were not just mere excuses to justify her actions, but they were deeply rooted in her troubled psyche, believed in her victimhood. Her tumultuous life and her actions were symptomatic of a deeper underlying issue, a borderline personality disorder. This condition is often characterized by severe emotional instability and impulsivity. In Wuornos's case, her disorder possibly engendered her erratic behavior, acting as a catalyst for her heinous crimes. Examining Wuornos's life through the lens of this mental health issue allows us to comprehend her actions in a new light. Her borderline personality disorder may have significantly amplified her fear, anger, and mistrust, culminating in a deadly outburst against the men she encountered in her life. Although this doesn't justify her actions, it provides us with an understanding of the troubled mind behind the crimes. Our sixth analysis delves into the disturbing psyche of Richard Ramirez, who infamously earned the moniker Night Stalker. Ramirez's reign of terror encompassed a horrifying tally of 13 murders, numerous sexual assaults and burglaries, a testament to his callous disregard for human life. One cannot discuss Ramirez without touching on his unhealthy obsession with Satanism. His dark fascination extended beyond a simple interest. It became a core part of his terrifying identity. He exhibited an unyielding commitment to his dark beliefs, often leaving satanic symbols at his crime scenes, and even attempting to incorporate these beliefs into his defense at trial. This fixation on the macabre not only fueled his violent actions, but also served as a sick source of empowerment for him. Ramirez's lack of remorse was not only chilling, but an essential component of his psychopathology. He seemed devoid of any empathy or moral compass, expressing no regret or guilt for his cruel actions. His absence of remorse was so pronounced that it suggested a profound disconnection from societal norms and human emotions, a characteristic often associated with severe antisocial personality disorder. Delving further into his character, Ramirez exhibited signs of an antisocial personality disorder. He showed a blatant disregard for other people's rights, often violating them without any hesitation or guilt. This disorder, coupled with his sadistic tendencies, created a lethal combination. Ramirez derived from inflicting pain and suffering on his victims, revealing a deeply ingrained sadistic side. His ability to commit such heinous acts with apparent enjoyment points towards deep-seated psychological issues, a disturbing manifestation of his sadistic tendencies. In conclusion, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was a complex and deeply disturbed individual. His fascination with Satanism, shocking lack of remorse, severe antisocial personality disorder, and sadistic tendencies combined to create a truly terrifying figure. Our next focus is on Gary Ridgway, notoriously known as the Green River Killer. A chilling figure in criminal history, Ridgway confessed to the horrifying act of murdering 49 women, although experts speculate that the actual number may well exceed that. Born in Utah, but raised in Washington state, Ridgway led that appeared perfectly normal to those around him. He held down a job, was married, and was an active member of his community. His victims were mostly women who found themselves living on the margins of society. He primarily targeted sex workers and runaways, exploiting their vulnerability. He would charm them, gain their trust, and then cruelly end their lives. The bodies were often dumped near the Green River, earning him the chilling moniker, the Green River Killer. Despite the enormity of his crimes, Ridgway managed to lead a seemingly normal life, largely due to his ability to compartmentalize his murderous activities away from his everyday life. This troubling pattern of behavior is typical of psychopathy, a condition characterized by a lack of empathy and remorse, excessive manipulation, and a deceitful personality. Ridgway's ability to commit these atrocities while maintaining a facade of normalcy underscores the cold-hearted nature of his psychopathy. His lack of empathy and remorse, key features of his psychopathic personality, allowed him to commit these horrifying deeds without any apparent guilt or regret. His case remains a disturbing example of the potential darkness that can lurk beneath an average facade. We now delve deeper into the enigma that is our eighth subject, David Berkowitz, also famously known as the Son of Sam. The terror he unleashed on New York City in the late 70s wasn't just a series of random shootings, but was deeply rooted in his haunting experiences with a demonic entity he believed to be a dog. Berkowitz claimed that this demonic dog was the one ordering him to commit the heinous acts. Berkowitz's claims about the demonic dog go beyond the realms of the ordinary and suggest a possible diagnosis of schizophrenia. This mental health disorder is known for its most prominent symptoms, hallucinations and delusions. In Berkowitz's case, the demonic dog could have been a figment of his hallucinations, and his firm belief that it was giving him orders, a delusion. Now, how did these hallucinations and delusions impact his actions? The belief that the demonic dog was an omnipotent force pushing him towards his violent actions could have created a psychological environment where he felt compelled to obey. The delusions might have seemed so real to him that in his mind he was not committing crimes out of his own will, but was merely a puppet of the demonic dog. An understanding of the implications of his schizophrenia provides a grim insight into the workings of Berkowitz's mind during his killing spree. The ninth case study introduces us to the notorious cult leader, Charles Manson. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1934, Manson had a troubled childhood, marked by a life of petty crime before he eventually escalated to orchestrate some of the most gruesome murders in history. Charles Manson was the mastermind behind the formation of the Manson family, a quasi-commune that arose in California in the late 1960s. This group of Manson's followers, largely made up of disaffected young people, whom he managed to charm and manipulate with his charismatic persona, creating an unshakable loyalty that would ultimately lead to tragedy. Manson's most notorious act was the orchestration of a series of brutal murders carried out by members of the Manson family in the summer of 1969. Under his instruction, 4 of his followers violently murdered 5 people, including the actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, in her home. Following that, 2 more murders were committed, marking the of what Manson believed was an apocalyptic race war, which he named Helter Skelter, after the Beatles' song. Analyzing Manson's personality, he exhibited prominent traits of both narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, and antisocial personality disorder, APD. His NPD was evident in his inflated sense of self-importance and a constant need for admiration. He saw himself as a messiah-like figure and manipulated his followers to view him as such, all the while showing no empathy for the victims of his orchestrated murders. His antisocial personality disorder manifested in his complete disregard for the rights of others, coupled with a lack of remorse his actions. His manipulative tactics, his charm, and his ability to lie and deceive were all hallmarks of this disorder. Manson's case thus serves as a chilling reminder of how such personality disorders, when left unchecked, can lead to devastating outcomes. Now we turn our focus to Harold Shipman, infamously known as the Dr. Death. A prominent figure in his community, Shipman was a practicing general practitioner, GP, who held a reputable position in the healthcare sector. He had a esteemed medical career spanning several decades, wherein he interacted with a myriad of patients, fostering a seemingly empathetic doctor-patient relationship. However, beneath this facade, Shipman harbored a horrifying secret. It's believed that he murdered as many as 250 of his patients, exploiting his trusted position to commit heinous. His victims, predominantly elderly women living alone, were vulnerable and unsuspecting, making their trust in him all the more chilling. Shipman's ability to exploit his position of trust and his lack of remorse point to symptoms of a severe psychopathic disorder. This disorder, characterized by a profound lack of empathy and a profound disregard for others, fueled his monstrous actions. His ability to manipulate his victims, using his professional status as a cover, is an alarming example of how a psychopath can operate within society, leaving behind a web of devastation and unanswered questions. In conclusion, each case study of these infamous serial killers brings forth a unique assembly of psychological disorders, ranging from narcissism, antisocial behavior, sadism, to psychopathy. By diving deeper into their minds, not only do we encounter a chilling exposure to the most ominous depths of the human psyche, but we also find ourselves in the midst of sophisticated analysis. This understanding of such notorious minds presents a wider perspective on the intricacies of the human brain and its potential to harbor malevolence. It further showcases the broader implications of comprehending the psychological makeup of these serial killers, opening up avenues for prevention, early detection, and potentially rehabilitation. As we reach the end of this chilling exploration into the minds of serial killers, we're left to ponder the deeper questions about human nature and society. What drives an individual down such a dark path? How does society respond to and prevent such extreme deviance? Are there warning signs or patterns that can be identified early on? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know if there are other psychological topics you would like us to cover. Remember, understanding the darkest aspects of the human condition is crucial in preventing future tragedies.